tagadan 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 pam pam tagadan 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 pam pam tagadan 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 pam pam tagadan tagadan pam pam tagadan 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 tagadan pam pam.
Okay, I'm running this session. I'm Dan Olds with Intersect 360. I'm the best mentor, yeah. I'm also kind of the unofficial historian of student cluster competitions, having started following them and writing about them in the Register, Inside HPC, and HPC Wire back in 2010. And I was there actually when Mr. Gilad Shaner decided to do his own student cluster competition in 2011. But anyway, real quick, what a student cluster competition is it is a combination of mentors and students from universities, right? Even high schools in some cases. And what their task is to configure a supercomputer and then to essentially race it versus everybody else. Optimize applications, learn how to put together the applications, run the binaries, etc. And then to typically at ISC and SC, live on the show floor, gather, run, and have the best optimized applications. So let's start with you, Gilad. Why did you start the ISC competition?
You said 2011, right?
Yeah.
Who remembers?
I remember actually being there right next to you when you said, F it, we'll do our own.
Too many years ago. Well, two things. One for the first question that you answered. We brought a moderator that asked questions and answered them after. So, I'm kidding. One of the things that the students need to do as part of the competition, by the way, is not just configure the system. They actually need to build the system. And we're trying to take them through the entire process of procurement because they need to go and quote-unquote beg the vendors to get equipment, right? So they need to buy the equipment and then they need to see what their budget gave them. And then they need to bring those elements together and build a system that the only limitation that it has is a power limitation. And that's something that actually resembles real life because when you procure a system, you either have a budget limitation or power limitation. So we give them power limitations, budget is unlimited in a sense, depends how much equipment they can bring, and so they need to build their own and then configure their own, and then they need to run through several tasks, including installing and running different kind of scientific computing workloads, and over the time we had some secret missions and so forth. So that's kind of what the competition is about. Started many years ago, and the main reason for that is it wasn't just my idea. It's Brian and myself kind of guilty in the same amount, more or less. What we saw there were a lot of discussions about what's missing in HPC, and people wrote big reports, hundreds of pages of reports of what's missing, but it's kind of left there. And no one tried to actually do something around that. And for us, it was important to try and bridge the gap between people that develop technology and then next generations of students or next generations of scientists and researchers and so forth, and try actually to do something with it. That was the purpose. And that's why we started the competition. We talked with the folks at ISC and discussed with them bringing a competition into ISC, which we're going to manage, and they're going to help with the space and power and so forth. And that's combination worked very nicely. Then we started to gather teams. I think the first competition went like 5 or 6 teams, more or less. And then we grew over time. It was important for us to do things a little bit different because there was a competition already at SC, but we wanted to do it a little bit different. First, we wanted students to have the opportunity to mingle with people. You know, you're going to ISC, there's a lot of companies are coming, a lot of universities, research centers, and so forth. We wanted to have them with the opportunity to maybe go to sessions. No need to be in their place of competition 24 hours for 3 days, but be able to enjoy the conference, be able to enjoy the location, you know, drink beer at the evening, but make sure that you get up early as needed and get back to the competition. Make sure that they actually have ability with us doing workshops before that to understand what are the applications that they are supposed to compete against, you know, how they work, why they work that way, to learn about the software, to learn about the hardware, to be able to talk with others and so forth. So that's why we started.
In a nutshell. Yes, very good, very good. Well, actually, next question's for Hussein. And
I want to make one comment actually about what he said.
Okay.
Because he described how it started and he just mentioned the purpose of the competition.
That's
exactly
where we were going.
So, well, I have a little bit different understanding, especially for the purpose point of view. I mean, the goal is the same. However, I'll just look at it from a different point of view. You know, HPC is not taught at the universities. You will not go to any faculty and find that they are teaching HPC. You will find some modules that's got you to some basic stuff, like for instance at ETH, Thorsten, he has like some courses about the basic HPC, but when it comes to practice point of view, that's not there. And that's where we tried, we thought about it, that it's what they are starting at ETH, at the university, taking them and bring that to practice. We will take them from one level to another. And I believe this is what we have started seeing actually after the first competition students join. And we have seen like from knowing some basic stuff in HPC to students that they are able to run, compile and get real scientific application, optimize it, and even just go and looking at profiling it and you know, looking what's going bad on this application and how they can optimize things, which is exactly what we are doing in the research centers. And that was one of the main goals actually, hoping that these will be ready at the end of their study to join centers like ours or any other place all over the world. Yeah.
Students, let's get you into this. You've got a microphone down there. I believe it works. Try the microphone. Is it working?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, great. So you've competed for the ETH team at least once, a couple of times for some of you, I think. What is it that goes into being a successful student cluster competition team?
Maybe I can start since I have the microphone. There are definitely different factors that go into being able to get to the competition and deliver a good product. And we actually learned this on our own expense. The first time I competed personally, it was in the ISC 22 student cluster competition. And I think that in that particular instance, we really missed some of the organization that goes into preparing before getting to the competition. And we really were not able to deliver as much as we wanted to.
You came in second.
Yes, true.
I mean,
true.
It's not so bad.
No. I'm not saying that it wasn't good, but I think that comparing how we are preparing now for the ISC competition to what we did back then, it's really night and day. Right?
Okay.
We have really improved communication. We have learned how to work as a group. We do weekly meetings. We try to keep up with the stuff, and this is also very beneficial because what we really see with our new members is that we usually try to pair up a member that has already competed with one that hasn't competed yet. And really having this incentive to communicate and to keep up and to help each other is really a skill that we learn through these competitions.
Okay, let's get some of the other students in here. What are you getting out of this? What have you gotten out of this? What are you getting out of this?
I would say a lot of the skills that we're getting, I mean, also to build on what Marcel said, definitely apply to what we're doing at university. So partly this organizational stuff, kind of managing how much time we want to spend either optimizing or building applications or trying to figure out which dependencies we actually want to end up using. A lot of that kind of goes back also into time management at university, which helps a lot. A lot of the...
Actually, that's a good question for the next guy. Time management. How do you balance being a student, full-time student, and doing this, plus having a life?
Yeah, so
Something's gotta
those
give.
are 3 parts, and you gotta choose 2. No, it is difficult. It is a lot of work, especially if you're serious about wanting to get a good result, wanting to learn a lot. And yes, it's you mix a bit of preparing for the competition and your free time, and then plan around university stuff that at some times you do a bit less than you maybe should do, and then have to work some extra after the competition. And yes, it's definitely extra work and hard, but if you really want to learn this and make the best of the opportunity you get, which is not something that many people can get, then all these sacrifices are definitely worth it. And yes, you learn a lot about the applications and how to run things. But I just want to reiterate that one of the things I got out from the competitions is how to work effectively and how to better work in a team.
Excellent.
And I think that's very important, and those things you can only learn in the competition.
Very good, very good. And, you know, the big goal of this competition isn't to race students versus each other, as much fun as that might be. What the goal is to get new people into our industry, help set them up with careers. And I'm going to put, I think probably you, Brian, on the spot a little bit. Have you guys tracked how many of the 1,000 students you've had? Do you have any idea of how many of them are actually ending up in HPC, or maybe what they're doing?
We've had a few that have gone to.
Okay.
Not sure in terms of where they've moved within the research center. We just haven't.
I know.
It's a very interesting thing to do, but
We're good at putting these things together
Yeah.
and attracting schools. And we actually, Addison and I, have our own Winter Classic US-based competition. We're good at putting it together, getting teams in,
I mean, look,
but tracking them later.
purposes, but in the end, if people are starting to see more the next
It's all good.
generation, it doesn't have to be because of us. I'm just happy they're there.
Yeah.
I would like to follow what
Yeah.
Brian started. So this is for the first time during the HPC Advisory Council. We had the first talk came from a student that he built his career in the student cluster competition. And the goal is that we will see that happening again and again. And we are expecting, I'm just really encouraging students to submit abstracts and some of the work that they are doing in the university for different events like the one HPC Advisory here, and we'll just try to provide the best support from our side and just to help you and make that success. And definitely we'll be looking more and more for students and their work, especially that they have built their HPC career, and that's really we are looking for that a lot.
Yeah, just one more thing to add. The competition give the students, I think, a great advantage. They build connections. They learn things that they don't learn in the university. They're able to experience actually usage of the things that they just learn about. And they go through the entire process of building a system and operating a system and running a system, and it's covering both what we call traditional HPC as well as AI, actually combining both together. We're seeing students from time to time. We don't have a group that we track them all, but we see former students that now leading large groups within the hyperscalers, the large AI companies, the large cloud companies, definitely government labs and research centers. We meet with them, from time to time, but those guys are doing great.
One thing that I would mention too about the ISC competition, how many of you, some of you must know Happy Sitoli, right? Oh yeah. I think Happy Sitoli kind of built a lot of his HPC in country out of the student cluster competition. He was at SC and saw it at ISC and said he wanted in. Brought a team there, and they trained these students up from zero.
Explain who he is for everyone else.
Oh, I'm sorry. Happy Sitoli, he is now head of HPC in South Africa. And so they put together a team, but it wasn't just putting together a team, it was putting together an entire effort to teach HPC skills at every university they could reach out to. They brought a team to ISC, came out of nowhere, they won it. They brought a team the next year. Brand new students, because his policy is we're going to spread this education. Nobody gets to do it twice. The second year, you become a mentor. Brought them the next time, they won it again. They have an intra-country competition in December that has turned into a more than 600-person event, HPC event, sort of a mini SC or ISC within South Africa. But it all started on the back of that cluster competition. And it's really great how that's come about.
Yeah, and by the way, so once little bit kind of overview on it, or some details about it. When we started with the competition, there were several folks running centers around the world that actually liked the idea, and they wanted to do something regional. And we helped them. So we worked and helped Happy with putting a regional competition in South Africa. And then he sends the best students from all of the teams as one group to ISC. So we're kind of keeping a spot for them. The same we're doing in Singapore, for example. There's another regional competition in Singapore. And then the team that wins in Singapore actually have a spot as part of the ISC competition. So calling here, obviously, if there's people that wants to do something regional, happy to help. If someone is involved with university, and it's a good idea to try to build a team of students and get them with the opportunity to participate in competition. I'm happy to help around that as well. I'm sure that Hussein can also help with his experience of mentoring a team. So we'd like to see more teams, more places, more universities, and obviously we're happy to help in every step of the way.
Great. Questions from the crowd? Thoughts, comments, concerns? Anything? How many of you have heard about this before? Cluster competitions? Decent number, okay. Many have not. This is good. So we are reaching people that don't know. So Hussein, what is the most difficult part of being a mentor in leading a team?
Parts, actually. Yeah, there are two parts. So one part has to do with the students, and one has to do with, let's say, with vendors. So because our work is not limited to mentoring and helping the students, but it's also finding some resources. And this is more and more is becoming more challenging to find the right resources. And that's where we have to fight a lot and try to find our best using any resources available to get what we need for the competition. That's one part. Now with the students, the most challenging one, keep them motivated. This is really is a key during the competition. I know that we learned during the early competitions that there are stuff that students has to take in consideration. They need to ask help in time. They should not wait until the last moment. And that we have seen it in the first competition. They did not look for help, and they arrived the last moment, and they said, what I'm going to do now? Out of time. I don't have time to submit stuff.
Real quick, I send out in my competition, I've sent out 6 emails with the topic, the heading, "Don't flail." And then it becomes, "Don't flail, you idiots. Ask for help when you need it."
Exactly. That's one thing. Now, the second thing is that when something bad happens, you definitely need to go to talk to the students and really bring them again back, bring the positive environment with the students, because really it's easy that because whatever failure happened, and then they will say, that's it, we are done, I'm not going to do anything anymore. And this is something bad to happen. And we should really start working on it to bring again this positive environment. And that happened before. There are stuff that students usually need to follow. I need to guarantee that they are doing it. And like, for instance, when they are during the competition and they get some results, they are not satisfied with it, just upload them, deliver these results, and work later. If something bad happens the last moment, you deliver nothing, you are out. So deliver what you have, and then just look on optimizing things and get better numbers. At least, you are on the safe side, and you start to. So there are like these tiny things that students has to take in consideration when they are running, and that's what that's the challenging part, that they follow these simple rules from one side, and that has no impact on what they are doing, and they keep them motivated. Yeah.
It does teach them how things work in the real world.
Yes, definitely. And that's where we are trying to make it as close as possible to what we are doing. All of us have deadlines in delivering papers, delivering projects, and the same for them. And that's equivalent. So they have to be ready for real life and how that is.
Now let me ask the students something. Before you heard about this competition, did you know that HPC was a thing and something you could work in and build a career in? Quick answer.
I guess I'll go ahead and answer that. I knew that it was a thing. I had no idea how it worked. So I jumped on the opportunity when I heard there is a competition or there's a team that participates in these competitions. And I think actually doing this work hands-on is what really gave me an idea of what is happening, and especially going to the competitions or the conferences at ISC actually gives you an idea of what is happening, who is doing what, and how everything works, kind of like from under the hood, where you're doing your own optimizations on your own cluster, to seeing how vendors interact with people developing software and all that. So it kind of gives you a very good view across the board of what's happening in the field.
Now, how about you? Did you know HPC was a thing?
I did know that HPC was a thing, big computers, yes.
Okay.
And that's the amount of it, basically. So yeah, it was pretty much the same for me. It was like, okay, I can play with big hardware. That sounds interesting. And then we will see where it goes from there. And it went far. And yeah, it's really interesting, because otherwise at university you don't really come into contact with it if you're not looking for special courses in that direction.
Same question.
Well, in my case, I had some very basic knowledge of HPC, because I had actually had the chance during high school to work on a project which I actually did on the clusters of the HPC Advisory Council. But the real difference that participating in these competitions did for me is that it brought me to a whole other level of understanding how the practical side of HPC works. And this really enabled me to literally start doing research and start developing new things on these systems. Just to give an idea, when I got at university, my idea was to study theoretical physics, right?
Take the easy way out, sure.
And now I
am
completely in a different direction, and I'm really glad that this actually happened.
Great. How many of you folks out there have problems getting new hires that have some HPC's knowledge and skills? Just 4, 5, 6, that's it? 7, 8? Yeah. These are the ones to get. They're self-motivated. Okay, you too. Finally, another vote. They do this on their own time. This isn't a class. This isn't a requirement. You're not going to get any better in terms of self-motivated students that are go-getters. And that's why they should be hired into this business. Question?
You have a mailing list for people who have taken part in this?
As part of our competition in the U.S., we put out a resume book to all the mentor organizations and sponsors and things. Brian, you guys have, it doesn't sound like you guys have that sort of thing.
Brian at HPC.
Brian at HPC Advisory Council for any questions? But you're right. I mean, that's, again, we're good at organizing these things, kind of, and putting them together, making them work. But it's that last part, the follow-up and the keeping track and all of that, that really hard to find the cycles for, because you're kind of already getting started on the next one. Other questions? Comments? Jump in.
Yeah, I have like a simple comment, especially regarding the hiring. Yeah, we still have 1 minute. I think if you can reach the mentors for every group, I think you can get directly access for because most of the mentors, they know very well the students, and they know each one which kind of skills and competition has, and that's where you can point you to the right person who's just like could be helping for the working point of view. I think that could gives a direct access and direct name.
Addison Snell.
Yeah, for those organizations wanting to support or help promote.
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about other?
Fortunately, your boss is bought in, right?
Yeah, you just don't tell them. But that's the thing, and actually, Gilad, as part of a large organization, how do you justify this?
Well, it's
Microphone, there we go.
There is no need to justify everything that you do. You have the ability to make scores and make decisions, and doing the competition or managing this competition. I think it's a very important thing. It's a very important thing to every company that participate in the market of high performance computing and AI and so forth. So it's not a matter of justifying. I think it's something that's important, and I'm grateful that I'm part of that.
That's a great note to close on. Any other questions, comments? Let's hear it for the students particularly, and the mentors.